Grade 6 Holt Literature Unit 7 Assessment. Directions. Read the following selection about the day Harry S. Truman became the 33rd American president. Then answer the questions that follow. Shortly before 5 o'clock on the evening of April 12, 1945, Vice President Harry S. Truman arrived at the private office of Speaker of the House, Sam Rayburn. He was looking forward to an evening of relaxing with friends after a long afternoon of listening to speeches in the Senate. But on his arrival, Truman learned that he had just received a call from the White House. It had come from Steve Early, President Roosevelt's press secretary. When Truman returned the call, Early told the Vice President to come to the White House as quickly and quietly as possible. Truman left Rayburn's office immediately, running through the basement hallways of the Capitol building and into his chauffeured limousine. He moved so fast that he left behind the Secret Service agents charged with guarding his safety. Truman knew President Roosevelt had been in ill health for some time, but he did not want to think about what might have happened. "I thought I was going down there to meet the president," he later said. "I didn't allow myself to think anything else." When Truman arrived at the White House, he was escorted by an elevator to First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt's private quarters on the second floor. Mrs. Roosevelt walked over to him and placed her arm across his shoulder. "Harry," she said, "the president is dead." Truman was stunned. For a moment, he was speechless. Finally, he asked Mrs. Roosevelt, "Is there anything I can do for you?" With her characteristic thoughtfulness, she replied, "Is there anything we can do for you? For you are the one in trouble now." Harry S. Truman was now President of the United States. Truman's daughter, Margaret, described her father's feelings at this historic time. Dad's first reaction was a tremendous surge of sympathy and grief. His admiration for Roosevelt as a political leader, as the creator of the modern Democratic Party, was immense. No matter what office Dad held, he would have been grieved by the president's death. Now, in the presence of Mrs. Roosevelt's calm courage and the awful knowledge of what the news meant to him personally, grief and awe and shock combined to create emotions of terrible intensity. To almost any American, following in the footsteps of a great leader like Franklin Delano Roosevelt would have seemed impossible. Yet this was the daunting task facing Harry Truman. At the moment, Truman was struggling to grasp the massive burden that had just been placed on him. The world was in the middle of the largest, most costly war in history, World War II. Millions of U.S. troops were fighting Nazi Germany in European cities. Millions more were stationed in the Pacific, battling Japan. Truman was unknown to most of the American public. He had been in office for only 83 days, serving as the new vice president as Roosevelt started his fourth term. Previously, Truman had served in the Senate for 10 years. As a senator, he had been well respected by his colleagues for his honesty, fairness, and no-nonsense approach. But he was not a man who sought publicity. Writing in the New York Times, Alden Whitman described Truman as an ordinary-looking businessman, more at home in a small town than in a big city. "He looked neat and plain," Whitman wrote. "He had deep blue eyes that peered through steel-trimmed glasses, and an engaging smile." On that misty, somber Thursday in 1945, Truman found nothing to smile about. But now the lightning had struck, he wrote later, describing the moment of his rise in power. Surrounded by his wife Bess, daughter Margaret, cabinet members, and congressional leaders, Truman took the oath of office from Chief Justice Harlan Stone in the White House cabinet room. He looked pleasant and significant, Whitman noted. Still, reporters couldn't help wondering and writing, is he up to the job? In the coming days, comparisons between Roosevelt and Truman filled the newspapers. Roosevelt's background of great wealth and prominence on the East Coast contrasted sharply with Truman's simple Midwestern roots. Truman had been a farmer for many years of his life. He had never attended college. His family belonged to the Baptist Church, yet the lessons Truman learned while growing up on a Missouri farm, the value of hard work, honesty, and cooperation, had molded him into a man of strong character and judgment. Those who knew Truman believed in him. When his mother heard that her son had become the 33rd President of the United States, she was not at all surprised. Speaking of her son's strong work ethic, thoroughness, and attention to detail, she said, "I knew that boy would amount to something from the time he was 9 years old. He could plow the straightest row of corn in the county. He could sow wheat so there wasn't a bare spot in the whole field." Number 1. The genre of this selection is A. Speech, B. Personal narrative, C. Autobiography, D. Biography. Number 2. Which of the following reasons best supports the answer to question 1? A. The selection provides a motivational message for Truman about difficult moments. B. The selection uses the third-person point of view to record events in Truman's life. C. The selection retells an important moment directly from Truman's point of view. D. The selection explains the importance of President Roosevelt's death. Number 3. Think about the chronological order of events that happened on the day that Truman became president. Which event happened first? A. Steve Early asked Truman to come to the White House. B. Truman spent time listening to speeches in the Senate. C. Eleanor Roosevelt told Truman that the president had died. D. Truman raced through the basement hallways of the Capitol. Number 4. Read this sentence from paragraph 2. He moved so fast that he left behind the Secret Service agents charged with guarding his safety. Truman's actions reveal his A. Desire to be alone while considering the uncertain message. B. Rude behavior and disregard for other people. C. Intensity as a competitive athlete. D. Anxiety and concern about the White House's message. Number 5. What is the meaning of the word stunned in paragraph 5? A. Paralyzed. B. Disappointed. C. Shocked. D. Distorted. Number 6. Truman is described as being speechless in paragraph 5. This word supports that idea that Truman, A. was angry that he was not informed about the president's death earlier. B. Could feel no emotion about the death of President Roosevelt. C. Regretted that he would have to become president now. D. Had trouble accepting the news of the president's death. Number 7. Read this quote from paragraph 6. She replied, "Is there anything we can do for you? For you are the one in trouble now." What did Eleanor Roosevelt mean? A. She does not think that Truman will be an effective president. B. She wishes that her husband could continue to be the president. C. She knew from experience how difficult it is to be the president. D. She realizes that Truman has been having problems with his family. Number 8. The word daunting in paragraph 9 means A. Overwhelming, B. Intolerable, C. Original, D. Passionate. Number 9. Which of the following quotes from the text best supports the answer to question 8? A. The world was in the middle of the largest, most costly war in history. B. Truman took the oath of office from Chief Justice Harlan Stone in the White House Cabinet Room. C. He had been in office for only 83 days, serving as the new vice president as Roosevelt started his 4th term. D. Previously, Truman had served in the Senate for 10 years. Number 10. The Latin prefix co means together. What is the meaning of the word colleagues in paragraph 10? A. People who enjoyed spending time with Truman. B. Politicians who worked closely with Truman. C. Other members of Truman's family. D. Officials who disapproved of Truman. Number 11. The word somber in paragraph 11 most likely means A. Intense and energetic. B. Dramatic and enthusiastic. C. Solemn and serious. D. Cheerful and sympathetic. 12. The prominence in paragraph 12 probably means A. Resourcefulness. B. Thoroughness. C. Complexity. D. Prestige. 13. How does Lazo's organization in paragraph 12 reveal her purpose? A. Lazo compares and contrasts Truman and Roosevelt to show that they came from different backgrounds. B. Lazo describes the problems of Roosevelt's death and explains that Truman is a helpful solution. C. Lazo records the cause that leads to Truman becoming president. D. Lazo explains the history of Truman's political experience to illustrate his readiness for presidential office. 14. Lazo's purpose in writing this selection is to A. Reveal the significance of the relationship between Truman and Roosevelt. B. Provide a personal account of the day Truman became president. C. Raise concerns about Truman's readiness to become president. D. Dramatize the story of 1945 to make Truman seem more important. 15. On the separate answer document, write a short response of a few sentences in answer to this question. You may use the space provided here to draft your response, but you must write your final answer on the separate answer document. Answers written inside this test booklet will not be scored. Using textual evidence, explain the author's purpose for using quotations from Truman's family in this selection. Directions. Study and analyze the following newspaper headlines from an American newspaper on April 13, 1945. Then, answer the questions that follow. Number 16. The front page of this newspaper, A, highlights the seriousness of the events of April 1945. B, raises questions about why Roosevelt has died. C, suggests that America expected Roosevelt's death. D, increased doubts about Truman's ability to lead the nation. 17. The headline, Tanks Surging Toward Berlin, echoes what quotation from Harry S. Truman? A, Dad's first reaction was a tremendous surge of sympathy and grief. B, to almost any American following the footsteps of a great leader like Franklin Delano Roosevelt would have seemed impossible. C, millions of U.S. troops were fighting Nazi Germany in European cities. D, he moved so fast that he left behind the Secret Service agents charged with guarding his safety. Number 18. Read this line from paragraph 9 of Harry S. Truman. At the moment, Truman was struggling to grasp the massive burden that had just been placed on him. Which line from the newspaper reinforces the main idea of that quote? A, cerebral hemorrhage is fatal to Roosevelt. B, all England is stunned. C, president dies suddenly. D, succession occurs during critical hours of U.S. and world history. Directions. President Harry Truman wrote the following letter while the United States was engaged in World War II. Read the letter and then answer the questions that follow. Harry Truman to his mother and sister. The White House, Washington, D.C., May 8, 1945. Dear Mama and Mary, I am 61 this morning, and I slept in the President's room in the White House last night. They have finished the painting and have some of the furniture in place. I'm hoping it will all be ready for you by Friday. My expensive gold pen doesn't work as well as it should. This will be a historical day. At 9 o'clock this morning, I must make a broadcast to the country announcing that Germans surrendered. The papers were signed yesterday morning, and fighting will cease on all sides at midnight tonight. Isn't that some birthday present? I have had one heck of a time with the Prime Minister of Great Britain. He, Stalin, and I made an agreement to release the news at once from the three capitals at the hour that would fit us all. We agreed on 9 a.m. Washington time, which is 3 p.m. London and 4 p.m. Moscow time. Mr. Churchill began calling me at daylight to know if we shouldn't make an immediate release without considering the Russians. He was refused, and then he kept pushing me to talk to Stalin. He finally had to stick to the agreed plan, but he was mad as a wet hen. Things have moved at a terrific rate here since April 12th. Never a day has gone by that some momentous decision didn't have to be made. So far, luck has been with me. I hope it keeps up. Luck can't stay with me forever, however, and I hope when the mistake comes, it won't be too great to remedy. We are looking forward to a grand visit with you. I may not be able to come for you as planned, but I'm sending the safest, finest plane and all kinds of help, so please don't disappoint me. Lots and lots of love to you both, Harry. 19. The quality that makes this letter different from a biography is the letters A. Discussion of Harry Truman's actions, B. Description of an important historical time, C. Use of the first-person point of view, D. Depictions of other world leaders. Number 20. Why does Truman mention that his expensive gold pen doesn't work as well as it should in paragraph 1? A. The pen represents Truman's frustration that he is not treated with more respect. B. Being president isn't what Truman expected it to be. C. Truman uses the poor quality of the pen for an excuse to not write his family a letter. B. Truman thinks that he should have had more time to prepare before moving into the president's room. 21. The word cease in paragraph 2 means A. Proceed, B. Protect, C. Finish, D. Decrease. 22. Truman's sentence, "Isn't that some birthday present?" in paragraph 2 reveals what tone? A. Anxious, B. Curious, C. Serious, D. Amazed. 23. In paragraph 3, the phrase "one heck of a time" means that A. Truman had difficulty working with Prime Minister Churchill, B. Truman has been enjoying working closely with Prime Minister Churchill, C. Truman and the Prime Minister have successfully learned to compromise, D. Truman hates having to work with other world leaders in his role. 24. The quotation from the text that best supports the answer to question 23 is A. He, Stalin, and I made an agreement to release the news all at once from the three capitals at an hour that would fit us all. B. We agreed on 9 a.m. Washington time, which is 3 p.m. London and 4 p.m. Moscow time. C. He was refused and then he kept pushing me to talk to Stalin. D. Things have moved at a terrific rate here since April 12th. 25. In paragraph 4, the phrase "mad as a wet hen" means that Churchill A. acted like a barn animal, B. was frustrated with the situation, C. hated having to get wet, D. started to become crazy. 26. In paragraph 5, the word "momentous" means A. short-lasting, B. energizing, C. encouraging, D. significant. 27. The word "remedy" in paragraph 5 most nearly means A. solve, B. prepare, C. demonstrate, D. review. 28. The details about his daily responsibilities in paragraph 5 support the main idea that Truman A. felt important because of the many decisions he made, B. believed that a president could succeed only through luck, C. enjoyed the quick pace of events in the White House, D. worried about the seriousness of presidential mistakes. 29. Read this line from paragraph 6. I may not be able to come for you as planned, but I am sending the safest, finest plane and all kinds of help, so please don't disappoint me. It can be reasonably concluded that A. Truman hopes that his mother and sister will be prepared for the journey, B. Truman's mother and sister are worried about traveling to see him, C. Truman's family plans to disappoint him by not coming to visit, D. Truman's family cannot make a journey without a male guide. Directions. Use Harry S. Truman, Harry Truman to his mother and sister, and the newspaper article to answer the following questions. 30. By synthesizing aspects of both Harry S. Truman and the letter, it can be concluded that Truman wrote the letter A. before he became president, B. after President Roosevelt died, C. when he was a senator, D. after the American public knew World War II had ended. 31. Synthesize the selection Harry S. Truman, the newspaper headlines from April 13, 1945, and the letter Truman wrote to his family. Why did Truman consider his May 8th broadcast a birthday present? A. Americans would shower Truman with gifts because of his victory. B. Truman would be in the spotlight on his birthday. C. Ending the war with Germany was a relief for all Americans. D. People would remember the date of Truman's birthday forever. 32. Compose a paragraph in response to the question below. Use both Harry S. Truman and the letter Harry Truman to his mother and sister to respond to the prompt. You may use the space provided here to draft your response, but you must write your final answer on the separate answer document. Answers written inside this test booklet will not be scored. Using evidence and details from both selections, write a description of President Harry S. Truman. Focus on his personality traits, interests, and/or motivation. Directions. Read the following personal narrative. Then answer the mechanics questions that follow. When answering, be sure to use the standard rules of written English to inform your responses. I did not read the selection. You guys are working on more mechanical questions during this time. 33. What is the best way to rewrite sentence 1 so that it has a more exciting tone? 34. Choose the correct way to use a colon in sentence 2. 35. Choose the correct way to capitalize nouns in sentence 7. 36. What is the best way to revise sentence 11 to be an exclamatory sentence? 37. Which change, if any, should be made in sentence 15? 38. Choose the correct way to capitalize nouns in sentence 17. 39. Which of the following sentences correctly revises sentence 19 to include a colon? 40. How should sentence 20 be revised to correctly punctuate the dialogue? 41. Which of the following sentences should be revised to eliminate the informal language? 42. In sentence 26, a colon should be placed after the word